afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this important webinar organized by South Asia Research Institute for Minorities on the occasion of International Justice Day. Today's theme, Justice, Equality, and Minority Rights in South Asia, highlights one of the most important fundamental principles, or one of the most fundamental principles of democratic societies, ensuring that every individual, regardless of their identity, background, caste, religion, ethnicity, or social status, has equal access to right, dignity, and justice. I am Furqan Ahmed, and I will be having the honor of moderating today's discussion. International Justice Day reminds us that justice is not only about laws and courts, it is about social inclusion, protection of vulnerable communities, and creating societies where minorities can participate equally and live with dignity. Today, we are truly honored to have the company of our distinguished voices joining us for this meaningful conversation. Our first speaker would be Ms. Cynthia Stephen. She is a Dalit activist, a writer, social policy researcher, and she had served her entire life for raising the voices of marginalized communities. She has extensively worked on issues related to social justice, equality, and the rights of, as I said, marginalized minorities, with a special focus on women and Dalit rights. Other speaker, Ms. Reeta Pariyar. She is a human rights activist, social entrepreneur, and philanthropist from Kathmandu, Nepal. Her work reflects a strong commitment to human rights, inclusion, and empowerment of vulnerable communities. And on the other side, I also will be facilitating this discussion as we explore challenges and opportunities for advancing minority rights and social justice across South Asia. So Cynthia, will give floor to you. As I indicated again, that there will be a possibility that some of our students will be joining. And I would like them to explore and capitalize to have your presence as well as Rita's experience as well. So over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's indeed a pleasure and a privilege, in fact, to address SARIM on its commemoration of International Justice Day. As some of you would know, the International Court of Justice is the principal judicial organ of the United Nations. It was established by the United Nations Charter in 1945 and began its activities in April 1946. The court is composed of 15 judges elected for a 9-year term by the General Assembly and the Security Council of the United Nations. Now, in the 17th of July was the 80th anniversary of the founding of the International Court of Justice, and that is the background to this seminar. So I just wanted to make sure that we don't forget that there is something called the International Court of Justice, which has necessitated the commemoration of this day, which is so important. So this court, which is located not in Geneva, but in The Hague, Netherlands, and it has a twofold role. According to its website, the court has a twofold role. First, to settle in accordance with international law legal disputes submitted to it by states. And second, to give advisory opinions on legal questions referred to it by duly authorized United Nations organs and specialized agencies. In my quite long-term engagement with UN bodies, I would say that it is an important part of the international Committee of Nations. And I think that the International Court of Justice is like it's a court of last appeal, because there is no appeal beyond the International Court of Justice. And so if for a world which is always seeking for justice, and people are always striving for their human rights, whenever there is a violation, that the courts of justice will, where national courts don't figure in the dispute, or if there are disputes between two sovereign states, then the ICJ is an important location for justice, to approach for justice. In this context, I would like to say that uh, I have mostly worked on women's rights, particularly where CEDAW is concerned. I have engaged with the UN networks in connection with the CEDAW, that is the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which is the UN Bill of Rights for Women. It is the human rights bill for women across the world, and it is signed by a large, almost all the member nations of the United Nations. And one thing about the International Court of Justice is that it it has jurisdiction only where states have signed on to be to be subject to its jurisdiction. And there are some important states which haven't signed, notably, of course, the United States, which have not signed on to be part of the International Court of Justice and its jurisdiction. However, it is still an important it's an important part of the International Committee of Nations, and I think it's a very important point to remember when we who work with the international rights, human rights, and where there are contentious issues. Now, for instance, I'm remembering in the early 2000s. When the Godhra riots took place, and we were actually submitting letters to the CEDAW as part of the women's movement, saying that there was a targeting of women from minority, that is, the Muslim minority communities, as a result of the Godhra riots. Some of you will know that some very notable cases, landmark cases, were filed by women's groups for the rights of people when there were mass violations. One of the things we wanted to do was the CEDAW has something called an international protocol, where we can submit appeals to the to the CEDAW body, using that optional protocol. But so there was an effort to do that, to bring it to the international platform. But for some technical reason, we were not able to do so. However, so the point is that it was we as women did consider that the United Nations system, not only did consider, we still consider that it's an important part of international justice systems, where we can turn to when we have grievances. So it's not only for states, but also for aggrieved people groups or social groups. And many of them, for instance, if there are war crimes, there are issues. For instance, I wanted to just point out that one of the cases that came before the International Court of Justice this year has to do with human trafficking between Belarus and Lithuania, where Belarus and Lithuania Lithuania was accused by Belarus of trafficking its citizens into Belarus, and so then the court made some passed some orders in that context. So therefore, so there are, and also people may remember that I think, if I'm not wrong, South Africa filed a complaint in the International Court of Justice in the context of the Gaza violence that's going on in Gaza, in the international, the kind of human, loss of human life, innocent human life that is happening in Gaza. So it is so that we see the individual, the individual activists or people recommend who represent the causes of the marginalized sections. We do feel that at least there is one international court where, if at all there is an aggrieved situation, we should be able to approach that court. So these are some of the ways in which we can take heart from this. However, it may be that in recent years people may have felt that people may have an impression that somewhere the UN's powers, moral authorities have been breached. That there are in many cases, particularly in the case of Palestine, where resolutions have not been honored, where, for instance, a lot of the dues that people are supposed to pay to the UN, some states have not paid, notably the United States. So it's a kind of a challenge for human society to be open to an international accountability. And I think this is the United Nations itself, the Security Council, and the International Court of Justice as an important part of that mutual accountability process that is kept in mind when we look at the status of governance, international governance in our country, in our world at this time. So I feel that this is an important occasion for us to remind ourselves that institutions, even though they may be old or they may not have evolved to the present day, they still exist and can be used fruitfully, approached fruitfully, or maybe suitably modified to be able to be useful to our societies, and in particular the voices of the marginalized. So whether it may be the women, whether it may be, as I said, one state trafficking human beings into another, or of Gaza. So these are some of the examples in which the International Court of Justice. There's one case where a certain African dictator was pronounced. Was passed. An order was passed against him, and if I'm not wrong, there are orders that are pending against the PM, the Prime Minister of Israel, and also against the Russian president, because the court has heard some pleas against them and their decisions. So it's important that very powerful individuals from very powerful states can still face some consequences from the international community because of institutions like the International Court of Justice. So I would like to say that we look forward to it. We look up to this institution. We hope that it survives, that it thrives, and that people will honor such institutions. It is at a time when dictatorial and authoritarian governments are coming into power in very large parts of the country, covering large parts of the world's population. It's rare such institutions. There are very few such institutions which have the moral mandate and authority to question them. And so we wish that all power and support to the International Court of Justice, and when we really appreciate its work and its activity in the world at this time. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you to SARIM for the opportunity to share.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, for first of all, again, showing up on a very short notice and gave such an insightful discussion and perspective. I would say your today's discussion was a bit more international, so that because of the relevance of the theme. I mean, before I move to Reeta, Cynthia, I'll leave a quick question to you, since you've talked about the importance and the significance of ICJ, CEDA, and other UN bodies. There's a question to you. I'll want you to respond very briefly on that. Can you somehow evaluate the effectiveness of international law in managing conflicts where social justice and when there is a asymmetry in power dynamics, with special reference to what is going on in Israel and Gaza and what is going on wherever there is an asymmetry in power?
Yeah, see, I already pointed out that the ICJ's jurisdiction only extends over states which accepts its jurisdiction. And in that context, I think that certain states have not accepted its jurisdiction. So there is already there an assumed mismatch. Maybe the US is not a part of the jurisdiction, is not covered by ICJ jurisdiction, or maybe even Israel is not. But still, nothing stops the ICJ from at least making pronouncements against the kind of actions that have violated the rights of large numbers of innocent civilians. That, I think, that moral opportunity, that moral option, it has exercised. And I think for that reason, and that reason alone, it is an important part of our international governance system.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cynthia. So from India now, we would turn our attention to Nepal, where Reeta is waiting for her turn. Reeta, over to you. If you could take on what Cynthia said, or if you could bring in your own perspective at the starting point, and then we can go on with the discussion.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, today is the International Justice Day. Then in a I think it's a world perspective. I think Ma'am Cynthia has mentioned a lot of things about it. So I want to like to limit it myself in a Southeast Asia, as the theme is justice, equality, and minority rights in South Asia. Um, if you if I say see the beautiful things, I just got back from the holiday Southeast Asia. Like I was just been to Sri Lanka, Maldives, Malaysia, Indonesia. So I have to come to Pakistan, Bangladesh very soon. But obviously, the in the world geography, Southeast Asia is a full of diversity. Like the way the garden looks beautiful with the different flowers and different colors. We wish we can really enjoy our diversity and accepting each other existence, in this part of the world. But there's a problem of many things in Southeast Asia compared to the Europe, America. So we have many languages, we have many religion, we have many caste, we have many cultural, many languages. So we are full of diversity. So in that case, I was writing the one article that like we promise the equality, but we never enjoy the diversity. So and when it comes to the justice anyway, so it's like International Justice Day remind us that like justice is not only about the courts and laws. It is about ensuring every individuals, like treated with the dignity, fairness, equality, regardless of their religion, their ethnicity, their language, caste, color, gender, and social backgrounds. But in South Asia, home to immense culture, at the same time, religious diversity, like minority communities have made significant contribution for this society to make beautiful. But however, like many still face a lot of challenges, such as discrimination, equal access to education, the employments, hate speech, displacement, and then it's just like uh, sexual harassment for LGBT, for like women, like in a Dalit. So there's a lot of this disparity and then inequality in South Asia. What we like to talk about like justice, for equality for this minority people, like more in Southeast Asia, many places has a minority. For example, I like to give example in Myanmar, right, the Muslims are minorities, Buddhisms are a majority. In Sri Lanka, I face like Buddhism are the majority, and Hinduism is a minority, and Muslim is a minority too. It's the same way that in India, uh, they have like minority Hinduism and then Muslims, and in Nepal, Hinduism, even Muslims, and there's a lot of India and Nepal has a lot of caste discrimination, so a lot of this gender inequality, and a lot of girls, women are dying every day, in the name of dowry and all that. So uh, the justice equality requires, the legal protection. We need a legal protection from them, like for those people, and those people is uh, like, for example, I can speak for someone like from India. I can solidarity to them as an activist, as a writer. But what is the main important is that their government, has to make a specific rule and regulation, constitutional treatment for those people who is underprivileged, who has no access to the government and education and many other issues, like the way the average people and the so-called higher caste has access to that. Um, Even the same way, the religion way, even the some, like, the Muslims are less, and then Hinduism is a majority, then these people need a specific and special protection from the government, because they all are a citizen. They all are citizen of their own country, and then we all are a family in South Asia too. So we really like to speak for each other. I mean, even the worldwide, even Cynthia ji was just mentioning about the Israel and Palestine. We always take a stand for Palestine and the whole world. Even now, Iran and America has that. So it's there's other issues of that. Every time, like, we have to speak for each other. Like, there's a once quote is that, like, if you if you don't speak for someone's house burning, and that the same fire will come to your house. So we have to stand for each other, and we have to help each other. Like there's a lot of dot in a different part of the world, and even the South Asia, Cynthia ji, many others activists I have met, even though they live in a different part of the world. So we can connect it, we can help each other. We have to always speak for minorities. They can be the religious minority, casteist, or gender, gender way. Like, and then now new things is like even the urban and rulers. Even there's a lot of urban people. They treat as a rural people. They not, the civilized. Even though they are more academic than the urban people, they look at them very lower way than the urban people. So they think they know everything. So there's a lot of problems in a Southeast Asia society. Because I think we have the problem of accepting each other. There's a lot of versatile. We have a lot diversity. In Southeast Asia, but then we have not ready to accept each other existence and each other's choices, whatever they chose in their life. And something you don't choose, like some born in a Muslim family, and he or she or it becomes a Muslim. So that's sometimes we don't have a choices that what we choose. And sometimes the Buddhist family born, they become Buddhist, and they have to sacrifice their middle child for as a lama. So certain things is like we cannot compare with the universal human rights, that sometimes that is according to your local cultural laws at the same time. So there's always debates going on, is that like whether you want to believe human rights that all work for everybody as equal, and then there's some scholars still fighting for that. Maybe that's universal law. It doesn't work with every people. It's just like every life is matter. The Europe and America human rights, they always say about it. But when it comes to the South Asia, there's a very different issues. Like some people are always privileged in the name of the higher caste, in the name of the majority religion, in the name of um, uh, the reach, the class. And so there's so many things in differences in South Asia. So we always demand as like equal rights and opportunity for all the citizens, and then the strong constitution, like for a country is to uplift and uphold the rule for this the minority people without bias and protection, their identity, their culture, and their freedoms. Everybody has their own way of celebration their life. Some celebrate Christmas, some celebrate Eid, some celebrate Diwali. So this is all freedom. It's being a human. This is a natural rights before the country has built up. Before the nation is built up, before this geography has invented in the world, the human rights, natural human rights is always there, because some people just born and then they have this certain rules that they can have a education, they can choose their religion, they can have their opinion. This is certain natural human rights. They always have it. So then inclusive and ensure this one left behind, like the every country and every society. Then if we do that way, so maybe we can bring the change in a different, in a certain way. I mean, human rights organization has been working since ages. Sometimes I feel like there's so many advocacy going on, there's so many activists is speaking, but why is not there's a lot of things is still going on in this part of the world, like mostly South Asia. This so I think somehow we people, like our people, like they don't want to leave their privilege, in the name of class, in the name of caste, in the name of religion, whatever they have. So they don't want to give up their privilege to inclusive the minorities to have this equal rights. So, and then like even the government sector, like they don't make a strong institution, and they don't write in a constitution that every minorities has to have the equal rights. And if something have a discrimination, like caste discrimination, sexual gender inequality, the religion indifferences, those kind of thing, in these issues, like they have to give a special, treatment, or a special service, or a special facilities for government, which is really happening in South Asia. So you let me know how long I can speak at the same time, because I can go long on and on. So that's what I like. As we observe the International Justice Day, let us reform our community to building, societies where diversity is respected, equality is protected, and the rights of every minority community are protected. A just society is one where everyone belongs to everyone, has equal chance to live and thrive, to make a better their life and make a beautiful world. Because each citizen get the rights. That does mean that one person will not snatch another right, and then the harmony will be there, so everybody get the same privilege, same dignity, dignified life, without discrimination, without disrespect. So no one wants to kill each other, no one wants to hate each other. So I can imagine, like, the John Lennon song, like, I can imagine the world can be beautiful and where everybody can live happily with a dignified life and respectful way, So I always imagine that way. So there's a lot of we have a discussion in this topic, but I like to close with the one line is that justice is not achieved when only the majority is protected. True justice exists when the rights and dignity of every person, including every minority, are equality and safeguarded. So thank you so much, Sarim, for choosing me to speak on this International Justice Day. And you guys have wonderful topic always. So it's very enthusiasm. So you always want to talk about it. Whether I said okay, it's fine, but I, want to make it happen. And sorry if I'm late. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Reeta, and thank you so much, Cynthia, once again for your valuable insights. Reeta, you said it right at the end. It should not be about how you treat your majority. It's about how you carry your minorities within the ambit of your country, or within the ambit of your within the umbrella of your of a one nation. So you have given us obviously some positive perspective of how South Asian communities work. But on the other hand, we do have challenges like religious discrimination. Then there's a hate speech. You've talked about there should be a need of solidarity. And you have clearly talked about having solidarity for minorities residing in other South Asian countries, be it in Sri Lanka, be it in Pakistan, be it in India. So and on this note, you have really given us your insights, which were required. And Cynthia, your international perspective was really relevant. And to those who have joined and who have taken out their time to participate in this very valuable conversation, I would like to provide my gratitude on behalf of South Asia Research Institute for Minorities. And on this note, I'm signing out, and keep subscribing SARIM. And if you would like to participate, we also have our journal as well, our research journal. Reeta and Cynthia, if you'd like to contribute to our next volume, that would be very, would be an honor for us to have your work published, or have your work highlighted as well. So on this note, I'm closing out